Oh, cool. Is this movie in 3D? No, but your face is. Kudos to anyone who knows what movie that's from. Fuck, I love that film. Comment below with what movie that is. These are the official Nightmare on Elm Street 3D glasses. There are so many weird parts about this movie, and one of them is the fact that this movie isn't like, hey, we're going to do a whole movie in 3D. It's like, no, we're just going to do the last like 15 minutes of the movie. And when she puts on her glasses, you put on your glasses. That's odd. That's odd. There's a lot of odd choices in this film. Now, Freddy's Dead, the final nightmare. Yes, yet another franchise that says the final, and it isn't the final. Big deal, whatever. But my God, is this film hated. Over in Killer Flicks, that group I'm in, it is just despised outright. There's like one guy, Andrew Becker, who defends it, and pretty much everyone else is just like, this is fucking awful. And when I went back to rewatch it, I watched it a good amount when I was a kid, and I never hated it when I was a kid, and this is the first time I've seen it in a little while. And while I didn't hate it, I can see both sides. I can easily see why this is hated. No, like, anyone who's like, I don't understand how people don't hate this movie, or don't like this movie. Really? You can't figure out why people don't like this movie? Have you watched it? And, you know, on the flip side of that, I can't imagine someone being like, you know, I don't understand how someone could like this movie. There's things to like. Loving this movie, I mean, to each their own, absolutely. And if you love this movie, that's fucking awesome. I hope you love it, and I hope you have a great time with it. I was underwhelmed. Like, I don't give ratings much, but it would be below like the mid-level line. Like in the tipping onto the other side of it, like a 4.5 or something, like a 4.5 or like something like that. Because there are elements about this movie that I enjoy, for sure. And there's some fun to be had here. And I think that's the mindset you have to go into with this film. Because 1 through 5 really pay attention very well to not only the continuity, but kind of the flow that was being set up. Like characters return, things are addressed, blah, blah, blah. This film basically just outright ignores the whole fucking series like it didn't happen, in a way. And it's frustrating. It is. And when I'm watching it, I'm just like, this is its own thing altogether, and it's almost a fuck you to fans of the franchise who are going in like, okay, how are we going to wrap this up? Is Alice going to come back? Are we going to have some kind of... Like, I think that would have been the much smarter way to do it. Like, bring back Alice, bring back characters that we knew, whatever, and finish him once and for all. Like, I would have been good with that, but this is the movie we got, so let's discuss it, shall we? Now, this film, and another reason why, obviously, the biggest reason I'm sure why people hate this is because it is a straight up comedy parody movie that's self-aware and a good majority of the time not funny. A good amount of it is cringy, and you're just like, oh, fuck. Like, fuck, okay. We get a Escape from New York style text opening where like we see the, you know, United States in old computer outline, and then like across the screen I was expecting it to be like, you know, once you go in, you never come out kind of fucking opening. I thought Snake Plissken was gonna come fight Freddy at any moment, which would have been awesome. But yeah, this whole like every kid in Springwood is dead now, and now Freddy's having to, you know, basically send a fucking kid out who's like a, you know, a bait to bring new fish back to eat souls, and obviously his end game is to get his daughter to come back so that she can bring him out with him. And I don't hate the addition of the daughter. I think that's cool. Like, that's fine. I think that if they would have done that in a different way, in a different film, it would have worked much better. So I'm not opposed to the idea that he had a kid, and like the fact that his kid got taken from him was part of his motives for why he wanted to take their kids from them It makes sense. Like, he's a nutcase. That's his justice in a way. So I'm not completely opposed to that. Things I am completely opposed to is making this like a fucking Looney Tunes movie on acid. Like, that's what it felt like. Like, when he sends the kid out into the, the real world to go grab people and bring them back, they leave like a character cut out in the thing, and I'm just like, are we watching a fucking cartoon right now? Like, I am not opposed to comedy injected into horror movies, especially like, known franchises. I'm fine. Like, Jason Lives, Friday the 13th Part 6, there's plenty of comedy. Like, he throws that guy against the tree and he leaves a happy face and his head goes away and the blood and he streaks down. He's still holding the arm. Like, there's comedy in that. And there wasn't really almost any comedy like that within the rest of the series. The rest of the series up until that point was very serious. There was comedic elements like Crispin Glover's character and whatnot, but Jason became almost a comedy act, but it still had a good enough serious tone that you were able to have fun with the fun parts. But this one, it went too far into the parody area, and that's why it lost, and why lost to so many of the fans, and why it's so hated today. I completely understand it. We get Freddy doing like a Wizard of Oz parody here, where he's, on a broom and he's like, I'm gonna get you and your little soul too. And we see 1428 Elm Street, and it's even more dilapidated. 6 fucking movies in a row now. We get cameos by like Roseanne and Tom Arnold. We don't need that. The one cameo I did like, just because it was kind of like, oh, that's cool that he did this, was Johnny Depp doing the egg thing. I thought that was like, oh, like he didn't forget his roots. You'll see in interviews with certain people, like I was recently watching something on Good Bad Flicks about Nicole Kidman, like being so, like, I don't know, blasé and like embarrassed about her time on BMX Bandits. And it's like, come on, that made your career. Fuck off. And Johnny Depp, like, this made his career, propelled him into stardom. This was his first film. And I like that he brought himself back. Like, he wasn't too cool to do this. So I really liked seeing him here. But the Roseanne Tom Arnold thing needed to go away. And I'm not even opposed to them. I like Tom Arnold. It just didn't fit here at all. And I like when, Spencer and them walk into the house, it like all breaks apart and becomes 1428 Elm, and like, that was a cool scene. I liked that a lot. And there are cool scenes. I'm not going to just completely harp on the movie. I have things that I want to say positive, and I have things that I've already said negative, and I probably will continue to say negative. The Carlos hearing aid scene, I liked that. But I feel like it could have been much more effective than it was, because it was done more silly. Like, when Freddy's stalking him, that could have been actually scary. But Freddy was doing it so, over the top and silly. He was like, and he was like playing, banging on things. And it was just goofy. He could have been stalking him. Like, if you want to see a movie like that, watch Hush on Netflix. Fantastic film that takes the death element and really amps it up, because this character can't hear his surroundings. One of his senses isn't working with him, and he's at a huge disadvantage when he's already at such a huge disadvantage being in Freddy's dream world. So I don't know. It was a frustrating scene, because I thought that it was a cool thing that could have worked better if it wasn't such a parody. But I did like that, he puts it in, and it like makes his hearing exponentially greater, to the point where like a pin drop can fucking almost deafen him and blow his head up, and then Freddy takes it and he scratches the thing and his head explodes. It's a funny scene. So it's a hit and miss kind of scenario for me. And the Anagata Davida part with Spencer, I like that, when he turns on the TV and he like, hey Spencer, let's trip out, and he's on the thing and it's all like tie-dye colors, trippy ass rainbow colors going on, and he walks into the TV and he turns around. I like that. And then it morphs into the video game scene. And the video game scene is probably the scene I remember from this movie the most as a kid. probably because it's aimed at children. But it is very reminiscent of its time. Like, it's very telling of what time period this was made in. When Freddy pulls out the game glove and he looks at the screen, there's a lot of fourth wall breaking in this movie where Freddy keeps looking at the screen and talking to us, which is an odd choice yet again. A lot of odd choices in this movie, but the power glove scene is just like you kind of just like, oh fuck, man, they're really going for the puns, they're really going for the comedy, they're really like, he is a total comedian in this film. And I don't know, I just feel like Freddy's Dead, the final nightmare, we saved the best one for last. This is the movie that should have taken it back to its darker roots. Like the fourth and the fifth one were starting to go a little too much into the comedy angle, and I think they could have pulled this around and made this really serious, and it would have killed. Like, almost mix the tone of, take the tone of New Nightmare and bring it here, and it would have been so good, but missed opportunity. Oh well. It has its fans, so I'm not saying those fans are wrong. I just feel like, personally, it was a missed opportunity. We also get to see different gloves when Catherine is going and she's looking around in his basement. Those look like little prototype gloves. I thought that was cool. Like, I was just thinking about that when I saw that. I was like, wow, it would have been cool to see Freddy with different gloves in the franchise. Like, just randomly pulling out different kinds of gloves with different kinds of tools on the ends of them. We didn't really get that. I mean, we got when he turned his fingers into hypodermic needles and whatnot, but that wasn't really his gloves. That was just him manipulating them. But, like, to be able to see old gloves that he had, I don't know. It would have been cool to see a little bit more of that. So I like the prototype gloves. When Catherine goes back into town, the kids that he killed in Springwood then never existed. Kind of like a In the Mouth of Madness, when John Trent comes back and he's talking to Jackson Harglow, and he's like telling him about Styles, and he's like, I sent you alone. Like, what are you talking about? This person never existed. And that's what happens in this movie. And it just doesn't, yet again, it's one other thing that completely ignores the rest of the films. Like, why do they not exist? Why does Spencer and Carlos and these people not exist anymore? I don't get that. Because they went into Springwood, and Springwood's like a dead zone now because it's like locked in a time bubble that you can only break out of if you're a Kruger lineage. Fuck if I know. It's all over the place. So that was annoying. And although I did like Catherine in her pigtails and schoolgirl outfit, I'll just point that out as the pervert that I am. My favorite line from this movie is, and the one that I always remember, is every town has an Elm Street. I just like that scene. I like that line. I like when he comes out and she's like, that's the school, but wait, you have no power, kind of thing. And he's like, every town has an Elm Street. And he puts his glove out, and the road sign like pops up out of the ground and makes that school on Elm Street. Cool scene. I really like that a lot. One of my favorite lines in the series, honestly. And when he's going through his deaths towards the end, he's like, first they burned me, then they buried me. And he's like cutting his fingers off again. And he's like, and my favorite one, they used holy water. And this just goes back to, like, I don't know. It's just a little tiny little gripe thing that I was noticing. It was like, yet again, it's like another thing that's completely ignoring part two. Now, what would he have said there to acknowledge part two? Like, then I tried to take over a guy's body and love vanquished me, or whatever. I guess that would have just been a stupid line, but it was just yet another thing that was like ignoring part two. But this one basically ignores all of them anyway. And yet again, we have like an explanation. I was talking about in a previous review on the series how we get this explanation of his mother was raped by 100 maniacs and that's why he was born like that. And this movie pushes that thing even further, where he was abusive to animals when he was in school. So that was like, you know, a precursor for what he was going to become, and people should have been paying attention. And then his dad, played by Alice Cooper, is beating him, and it's like he has an abusive father, and he was, or well, stepfather, I guess. I mean, it clearly isn't his father, but he has an abusive parent, and he was mutilating animals, and it was just, it's all so typical. It's all so, and then he has like the seemingly perfect life, but he has like a secret in his basement that he's hiding from his family. Like, it's all like typical freaking serial killer bullshit. And I don't know, I just like the fact that I just like the idea that Freddy was a killer and he just killed people because he was crazy and not because he had all of these predispositions to become like that through, you know, genetics and, you know, being beaten and whatnot. So, whatever. It's just another thing that kind of irked me. We get a lot of Robert Englund outside of Freddy makeup here. I'm sure that he was big on that one. Like, get me out of this makeup. Let me stand in front of the camera, especially if this is going to be the last one ever. And towards the end, when Catherine is fighting him, the doctor, he just, like, there's a metal door that's separating him from being able to help Catherine out. They're on the other side of it, and just eventually, like, he grabs the door and he just keeps turning it and he rips it off its hinges. This is not in the dream world, mind you. He did this in reality. That dude has been working out in his spare time. And I wish that it would have been that his daughter killed him with his glove. Like, I think that would have been a much better ending. Like, the fact that we have to have like the little bit of foreshadowing that Spencer makes a pipe bomb earlier and that they go throw that in lockup where all the juveniles, you know, freaking equipment is that they have, the knife with the brass knuckles on it and all that. I don't know, like the Freddy glove on his daughter is symbolic enough for me. Like, that's his weapon and his blood using it against him. I feel like that would have been a fitting death for him. She would have went in, she could have hacked him up. Like, she just stabs him and it's like a big moment. She gives him a kiss on the cheek, but then she like sticks a pipe bomb in him and blows him up, and that's what kills him. Like, he's been killed in so many different ways and much better than that in the series, and this one stuck, this one worked. Like, the glove in his lineage, like, I feel like that would have made more sense. So, I don't know. Just kind of an annoying ending as well. But yeah, so Freddy's dead, the final nightmare. I wasn't as big of a fan as I wish I would be, because I'm totally fine liking movies that everyone hates. But I'm not on the complete hate train. I'm always going to give a movie its credit if it has credit to be deserved. And there is some things to like here, but overall, it's the worst entry of the 6, easily. So, all right, we got 2 more to go here. We got A New Nightmare next, and then obviously the remake. So, until tomorrow, guys.